have some experts up here from across the industry. So why don't we start down here on the left and give a 30-second introduction on who you are and what you do.
Good afternoon, my name is Matt Blazel. I'm with Tadano America. My title is Director of Customer Satisfaction. My areas of responsibility within the organization are our technical training, both our internal team and external distributor team, and customer administration, and our technical support call center.
Hey guys, my name is Melissa Petersman. I was a heavy equipment mechanic for John Deere for 7 years, and I am now currently working with Tyler at Diesel Laptops.
Hey everyone, my name is Bruno. I'm the Chief Commercial Officer at Cojali USA. We build diagnostic solutions for all makes in order to fix all the machines that you see around here, engine systems, transmission, and then just working in the field towards future necessities.
I'm Nathan Clark. I've been a field tech for about 20 years from Wyoming to Kentucky. Of course, I'm on the show Gold Rush. I've been doing that about 5 years, so I'm all the way around trucks, tools.
And I'm Tim Davison. I'm Vice President of Sales and Marketing with Stellar Industries. We're one of the leading manufacturers of mechanics trucks that guys like Nathan and some of these other folks use to go out and service heavy equipment.
All right, guys, so let's just maybe give the playing field explained a little bit in current state. So, Nathan, I know you're out in mines, you're out in the middle of nowhere, there's equipment. I've been up there, there's equipment all over the place, variety of stuff. What's it like up there just trying to diagnose and fix such a variety in the middle of nowhere, no internet, out in the wilderness on these gold mines?
You know, it's hard, it's fine, you know, but you got to have the right tools to do it, you know, and especially everything going Tier 4 final, you got to have the software. If you don't have the software, you ain't going to make it. But it's a lot to it. You got to stay calm, especially you got a damn camera on your face. Sitting there asking you questions, Nathan, what's wrong? What's going to happen? What's going to happen, Nathan? It's like, dude, just calm down. They want to be more dramatic. You can't be dramatic about it. It's just a machine that broke, you know. So it's hard, it's fine, but when you add TV involved, it's a whole new ballgame.
Yeah, and Tim, I know your dealers are selling all kinds of chassis, right? They got to deal with a little bit of everything. How are they handling it?
Yeah, you know, it's a commitment, I guess, to the customer. So if there's equipment in the middle of nowhere, that's where most mines are. When I travel around the world a lot of times to mine sites, and the good Lord in heaven never put a mine site in San Diego. You know, he never put one in Miami right along the beach. They're in some pretty distant places. When you're in Inner Mongolia in China, or you're in the Gobi Desert in Mongolia, the middle of Russia, places like that, you have to service that equipment, because the mechanics are out there servicing day in and day out. And our dealers, a lot of times, they may have to launch somebody. If our equipment breaks down, they have to be on site and ready to fix that equipment.
Man, I know you guys have a $30 million pieces of machinery out there doing things. How are you guys managing these? These are on sites out in the middle of nowhere. What's the current state like for your organization?
Like everybody else, we're having to adapt and adjust in our training, our recruitment and retention programs, trying to essentially get ahead of the competition in that spectrum.
All right, so current state, I think we're all there in different areas, and this is really about the future of where things are going. So Bruno, I know we got you here from Cojali. You guys are doing some pretty new and amazing stuff. You want to talk a little bit about some of the things you guys are doing, where the future's going for diagnostics?
So when we look at what the guys over here on my left were saying, being able to service the machine and have the right tools, the right software, and the right information is kind of key. So what we're doing is try to build out beyond the tool and have the right technical information, access points, and even training videos that are associated to it. Because even though we have Nathan and Melissa, they're badass techs, the possibility that they know absolutely everything is not a reality, right? So being able to give them that extra information is great. When we look at the future, it's being able to pretty much predict what's going to go on before it goes on, so that they have the right things in the right place and get things done, right?
Right. So none of this future stuff really works without diesel technicians, and that's a huge problem today. There's over, last time I looked, there was over like 50,000 open jobs for diesel techs in the United States, right? And it's a problem that's been getting worse for a long time. Melissa, you came out of that field. I know a big part of what you're doing is trying to spread the word that this is a good industry, this is a good business. You talked to a lot of young people. What do you see as some of the reasons people are not looking to come into this industry as diesel technicians?
Well, people still think the diesel industry is the dirty, grimy, shitty job that no one wants to do. Everybody still thinks that's what it is. And what they don't realize is the massive amounts of money you can make in this industry. This is not just a dirty, grimy job you work through college in. This is a career. Like, you can make a lot of money and you can make a solid career out of this for the rest of your life. And it's a great industry to be in. Like he said, the diesel shortage is a huge thing. You can walk into any shop anywhere and have a job instantly if you have even some experience in the industry, because everybody is really, really needing diesel mechanics right now. Everybody is desperate for a diesel mechanic, especially qualified mechanics. And every single company I've ever worked for goes through huge efforts to recruit people from middle school, from high school to college. I mean, they are trying to recruit anybody and everybody that is even remotely interested in the industry.
Yeah, and this diesel tech shortage really creates the problem of equipment being down longer than it should be, right? So anytime there's a problem, there's usually multiple solutions to it. So one of those solutions is obviously diesel techs. We got to get people, we got to let them know this is a great career path. I always tell people, look, you become a diesel tech, you're never going to have to worry about a job in your life. You can go work anywhere you want and make really good money doing that. But the other piece of the puzzle is technology has to get there to facilitate quicker repairs, predictive, and all these other things. So I know, Tim, you got a lot of vehicles all over there. I know you're doing some stuff with remote diagnostics. Can you talk a little bit about what you guys are doing on that side of the fence?
Yeah, on remote diagnostics, even for what a lot of people consider a small service crane, a mechanic's crane, we have electronics in there that is tracking the movement of a crane and understanding at what time of day, what an operator is doing with that crane. But even before that, the technology just to run our cranes, that's changed over the years. It used to be, a corded remote, and now it's a radio remote control, and we have electricity on a truck. Sometimes for powering the truck, but also just having the electricity for the laptops that we talk about, because you have to have clean power to charge a laptop. So we have inverters that are doing pure sine electricity into a service truck. The operators for our type of equipment that we have today are some of the smartest people you're going to see in the industry, because they have to be smart people to understand how to work on this equipment, and we have to have the technology there to help them.
Yeah, so Matt, I think one of the interesting things too is everyone always assumed like you have to be a dealer. That's the only place that can actually have a tool. It's the only ones that can do it. And I know you guys have done some stuff now with some other tools to enable customers to actually work on their own stuff and empower your dealers more. Can you talk a little bit about what you guys are doing on the technology front to empower them?
Well, a couple of things along with the tools. We're utilizing an operating system in our cranes that allows for bi-directional communication. So a lot of what we deal with, obviously in a lot of situations, is merely a software update, and being able to push that out without having to actually have a physical presence is a big advantage. But as far as the consolidating of the tools, not having to maintain that, is a real advantage at this point. We're sharing that with our distributors and our users.
Yeah. I mean, Melissa, you came out of a dealership, right? You worked there. They had dealer level tools. You've now seen some of the other stuff. How would you say like today's multi-brand stuff is compared to what you were seeing at the OEM level?
I mean, I'm going to be honest, like before I started at Diesel Laptops, I kind of had a biased opinion about dealership software, because coming only from the dealership, that was all I ever saw. I'm like, there's no way that any company can even compare to this, right? We can hook into it. We can have John Deere support. We have tech support. We have manuals. We have repair manuals, diagnostic tests, the whole 9 yards. Then I see Diesel Laptop stuff, and I was actually really, from a mechanic's perspective, I was pleasantly surprised on how well their systems are set up. It's easy to use, and it has damn near everything that the OEM manufacturers have in their software. And that surprised me. And I think that's kind of what people don't understand, is you don't actually, like, seeing your guys' technology, you don't have to have the OEM software to hook up to it. And trying to get a hold of OEM software if you're obviously not a dealer is, like, impossible.
Yeah, Bruno, I'd like it if maybe you could talk a little bit about the next evolution, right? So I had a chance to visit you guys in Spain last year. I saw the augmented reality stuff. We got data coming off vehicles remotely. Can you just talk about kind of where Cojali sees the future of diagnostics going?
So yeah, we've been working on this for about 20 years now. Actually, this year's our 20th anniversary on diagnostic solutions, and it's a little bit of what we preach both Diesel laptops and Cojali. It's democratizing the data and giving people the right resources to do so. But as we said before, having the diagnostics is not enough. So you need to have that training and that education. So we're building out the augmented reality glasses where all the software is built in on it, but then on that same screen you can have the technical information, you can have training videos, or even have a high-tech technician from one of the manufacturers, from one of our teams to guide you through it, so you don't have to have everything. With that, we're extracting large amount of data. So every scan that gets done, we have 90,000 units in the world, so that's a lot of scans. We extract the data, what codes are coming up, what's the reason behind that. And we're trying to build out these predictive models so that once you have all the help you need through the AR and all these technologies, you also figure out what's going to be working on, how your fleet activates, what makes it click, where the problems are, right? And kind of build into that future where data is king, and giving the data in the right moment is going to be very important.
Yeah, so let's talk a little bit more about just the diesel technicians and training and things they need to do. So Nathan, you're up there again. You've been doing this for a while. What are some of the gaps and skills that you see when you work with other technicians? Where are they struggling today, and how do you think we fix that?
You know, it's hard seeing some of the technicians, you know, struggle, you know, troubleshooting machines. You know, you gotta train your people. That's flat out to it. If you ain't getting the training in, you ain't gonna get the quality. You ain't getting the quality, you ain't gonna sell machines. So you gotta start with the basics. I mean, basics is training. Get those guys out there, train them, reward them. Bring them to CONEXPO. You know, 20 years I've been doing this crap. I ain't never been to CONEXPO. You know, because I'm a mechanic. You can't afford to get that. Well, you know, take your best damn mechanic, take them to CONEXPO, reward them. You know, you gotta reward your people. You gotta take care of your people. Give them all the tools you need. You got a P&L. I ran Brandhouse Machinery. I worked for them 10 years. I went in the service manager position. I took care of my guys. I made sure they had all the tools they needed. You know, you got a P&L. You got, you know, all the parts you can buy. Buy everything you need for the trucks. Get it to them. You will get the income back. I guarantee it. But get the training in. You ain't gonna retain your people either.
Yeah. So Tim, I know you guys are working on the newest model trucks and putting bodies on them.
Yep.
How do you guys do it, right? Because that's like the latest and greatest, and things are always changing. How do you stay up on that and make sure things are getting installed correctly, troubleshot correctly once they leave the factory?
Yeah, so that's a little bit like Nathan talks. We get our engineers out into the field. We're visiting with chassis manufacturers every single year on the newest models, so we understand what the electronics packages are, what the hydraulic potential is coming off a transmission. But you know, we put a lot of diagnostics equipment in our own products because we understand that the operators of our products, they get that off of other machines. You know, we have feedback, like he was talking about with Tadano. We have on a little crane, we have feedback on those systems where the operators know exactly what they're picking with the crane, how far they're reaching out with the crane. And then we actually have a little vibrator and a handle that as they get close to an overload situation, the handle vibrates just to let that operator know that, hey, listen, here's what's going on with your equipment. So we really help train them that way. The electronic equipment, I guess, it's a training aid for the operator. It's not going to do their job for them. You're never going to replace a mechanic. But the more aids we can give them to do their job, they get it done faster, and they're able to be more productive and get on to the next job.
Yeah.
Tyler, let me jump in here because we're talking about a subject on training and you're a huge advocate about it, so it'd be a shame for you not to chime in. Why don't you share your opinion on that and what you're doing with that in diesel laptops?
Yeah, so we always say, like, you can hand people the best technology in the world, but they're not going to, it hurts to say this, we sell millions of these things. It doesn't help them actually solve the problem. They need more than just the tool, and a big piece of that is the training. And a lot of people think it's the software. It's almost scary. We're selling $10,000 tools, and people ask them how to turn the laptop on. And we're like, man, you guys are so far behind the 8 ball already to try to resolve those problems you have. And it comes down to training. And it's only like 5% software. The other 95% is how do I actually fix the problem I have? How do I find that root cause that's causing me to do a frequent regen? How do I find out why these other issues are happening? And it really comes down to training. And it's really unfortunate because there's not a lot of continuing education in the United States for diesel techs. We got the tech colleges, some of the OEMs do some stuff, but it's really lacking and everyone's scrambling. Technology went so fast, so hard. Now we got EVs coming, we got robots driving trucks, robots driving equipment. Like where do we go to help these as they fall into the aftermarket and fall into the new owners. So yeah, it comes down to you gotta invest in your technicians for those training. And if you don't, you're not going to retain them. They're going to go to other places. So I know, Tadano, you want to talk a little bit about technicians and training and backlogs at your dealerships that you guys work with and where you see things going?
Constantly trying to support our distributors and our customers and their customers at the same time. I mean, typically, for basic maintenance or repair, you're looking at a couple of weeks to get out there now. Obviously, as the manufacturer, we have a little extra capability to support the warranty incidents and stuff like that, but we can be out there in 24 hours. I think one thing that we've talked about and that we're starting to notice is that some of our suppliers, some of the OEM suppliers, are starting to realize that there was really a deficiency in the market, and that the self-supporting service agreements and stuff like that are really becoming something that's starting to take off. But internally, as far as the training goes, we have we do all of our training in Houston. We've got a set schedule, and we really we try to get beyond basic theory and operation and try to break it down into sort of generational, latest and greatest versus in the past. But ultimately, as you say, training is where the key is to essentially allow people to use the tools properly. And in your case, you all have got the regional training centers where you sit some of our folks there too. It's been a real benefit.
Yeah, so Melissa, you came out of a dealership. I came out of a dealership. I know people assume because we were a dealership, all our guys were factory trained on everything, everywhere, and we had the best training in the world. Really wasn't the case in my life. What was it like in your life, and how much stupid stuff did you see?
I can't tell you how many controllers I've seen replaced that weren't bad, and those controllers are $1,000, $5,000 controllers. And like they were saying, you can have all the software and the manuals in the world, but if you don't know how to test your wires properly, you don't know how to physically run the tests, read a multimeter, it's not going to do you any good. And that's where the training comes into hand. And I think he kind of touched on this a little bit, is the lack that I see in the industry is electronic diagnostics. That is a huge problem that even people in my generation struggle with. They struggle with the technical understanding on how the system works. And if you don't know how the system works, you're never going to be able to properly diagnose it. And that's where the training comes in.
Yeah, so I think as you're talking electrical and the issues we all see today, and we agree, our electrical 1 course, this is a basic course, right? How to use a multimeter, what these symbols mean. And we're giving them to continuing education. So guys 5, 10, 20 years who come into the class, 80% would fail. They didn't know what they were doing, right? So we know it's a problem. We stopped giving the pre-test because it was such a downer more than anything else. But now we have electrification coming. So Tim, I know you guys are selling equipment out there, electrification.
Yeah.
What complexity does that add? How's that going? And where do you see the future going for diesel techs?
Well, I think all the way around, electrification is coming. We all know that it's coming, whether we like it or not, whether we agree that it's an avenue of power that is viable right now. I think it is a little premature. We can't run enough electrical cables to charge every vehicle, let alone every piece of construction equipment. But in our industry, we do have a hybrid power source with lithium iron batteries that we're powering equipment that we made, and customers are using it because they understand in some areas of the country they need to use that. They're in a residential neighborhood and they don't want to run a diesel engine. We give them the option to run a battery-powered unit that can power a truck for 8 hours a day. And a lot of customers are liking that. And like I said, I don't know from a political area or if you believe it or not, it's coming in many, many states. We have to figure out the back end of it, or maybe the front end of it. How do we actually get the power there to charge batteries and make it viable? But it's certainly coming. And if it's on a mechanic service truck that's on like a Ford F-550, it's coming everywhere. All right, it really is, and we all have to be ready for it. And we recognize that, and honestly, our customers are appreciating the fact that we're giving them an option for it.
Well, Nathan, I know you love EV stuff. Like you must be super excited about all this coming. Is it certainly some of the conversations with customers and people you're having conversations with?
Yeah, I mean, it's going to come. I mean, like it or not, it's going to be here. We have to embrace it. It's like Tier 4. Tier 4 came out, we're like, blah, 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 blah. But by God, we have to just keep on going forward with it. So, yeah, the electric's going to come, but, the electric has benefits too, like the cranes. I mean, you can save a lot of fuel. You don't have to run a truck all day long. You're doing a lot of picks. You're doing an engine job on a W8900. You're going to use your crane a whole shitload. So it saves a lot of time and a lot of energy there. So it's got its pros and cons, but for our industry right now, I just don't see it being ready anytime soon. 20 years, maybe, right now.
Well, I know at Tadano you got some EV stuff going as well. Like, can you tell the audience a little bit where it's at and what you guys are seeing from customers? And is it a big conversation today?
It is a big conversation. We actually reviewed our all-electric rough terrain crane here at CONEXPO. We also have hybrid units and auxiliary power units that allow some adaptability depending on where you're at. But EVs here. The infrastructure and building that out is behind, but it's already here. And in our industry, there are certain restricted areas where noise comes into town, also in hazardous areas. But also, I think with EV coming, you're going to disagree with me a little bit, but things are going to get a little simpler. We're not going to have. I know we're talking about diesel engines, but there's a lot going on there. And when you get into a full EV kind of situation, the technology and the way it's constructed, it's going to be might actually get a little easier now.
Right, Bruno, diagnostic tools, EVs. I know you guys are already doing some stuff. Is it a big conversation going? Where are you guys at currently with EV diagnostics? It's new technology. Is it different? Is it the same?
I mean, at the end of the day, what we have with diagnostics is that it's going to be bits and bytes, right? So we're turning diesel stuff into electronic impulses. So with EVs, it's directly that. It's kind of the same logic. It's just changes the communication channel. We have a few systems that we've been working on, a few more that are coming on board, and I don't see a big deal. There's a lot of worry about the onboard diagnostics on it, but we're still going to have the same scenarios. OEMs are not going to play well with each other. They're going to need an aftermarket solution that integrates for them, and that's what we're going to be at in the EV space.
Well, another question for you is we got to talk about data, right? So, I think we can all agree the way the world works today is a vehicle has a problem, it breaks down, it goes somewhere, they diagnose it, they order parts, and it's fixed. But now with data coming off vehicles, that whole process kind of changes, right? Like, now all of a sudden, better decisions can be made. Can you talk about how that world looks like as we start getting data off vehicles?
So when we look at vehicles and the amount of information that's coming on, we're going to see that you can get the information from the maintenance, from the reports, you get the information from the actual techs and what they're recording, the diagnostic scans, and nowadays realistically everybody has a telematics solution. So the data is being logged instead of every time that they're at the shop, every 5 minutes or every 10 seconds or whatever. So those are millions and millions of data points that come into place. With all that, you're capable of building specific data models that allow you to iterate a process, and everybody's heard about machine learning. What does that mean is that it iterates, goes one time, another one, until it optimizes the process. So we're getting to the point that based on experience, routes, machines, we're going to know what breaks before it breaks. But not preventive, where it still has a lot of life left, but when the use life is actually finishing up. And based on the information that we have and the data that we're accruing, we're capable of passing out information to somebody that's capable of crossing parts. Do you know anybody that can cross parts so that you can buy them on the spot?
I'll tell you what, the world will go from fault code to part number to buy. It's like right there, right? And it all comes down to data and clean data. So, and I'm sure you guys as well at Stellar are wanting data off vehicles. Can you talk a little bit, why do you want the data and how does that help the customer?
Well, and it's not just us. I mean, we like the data to understand how customers are using our product, and if there's a service issue, they can go back and look at how an operator maybe was using the piece of equipment. But more than that, we're actually seeing where the fleet manager, they may have 50, 100 service trucks at an equipment dealership. They're able to look at the usage of a crane, a compressor, the truck in general, and then right-size their fleet. So they're able to say, listen, in a metro area, I don't need maybe a 10,000 pound crane. I need a 5,000 pound crane. Okay, maybe I don't even need an air compressor because more and more people are going to electric tools, not even needing air compressors at times. But boy, if I'm out on the mine side, I need a 10, 12,000, maybe a 14,000 pound crane, because they're able to actually see the data on how their operators are using the equipment. That's probably the most important way that we use data, is to help our customers right size their fleet, make sure that they're spending only the right amount of money they need to keep their equipment up and running. So.
Yeah. So Matt, same question to you guys, right? How do you guys deal with data? What does it mean to you? How are you guys using it? Where do you see it going?
A lot of the data that we collect is for product improvement and quality, and I think it's going to continue down that path. Also there's the aspect of safety. We want to also know what these operators are doing with the equipment, over the situation, stuff of that nature. So that's all still there, and it's going to remain there.
So we can talk about all the fancy and technology stuff, but I just want to talk about like maintenance strategies in general. Because I've been in the Yukon, and I remember asking them, like, what's your maintenance strategy? And they're like, what's that? So, like, what do you see out there in the customers you deal with up in the mines? Is preventive maintenance, is maintenance even a thing up there, or is it just, it's broke, let's fix it?
Well, it depends what TV wants to show on my part. TV wants to show things, not getting maintenance and everything else. But you got to schedule everything out. I mean, especially like in the rural parts of Alaska, check screens. I mean, you're talking 2 months to get a set of screens. The place out of Anchorage doesn't make them at all because they can't get people to work there. So it came out of Oregon, and it's just pain in the butt. So you have to make sure you schedule everything way advanced. I mean, have parts readily available. I know what they show on TV is what they show on TV, but the real life is some of that's just drama. But you got to make sure you know what you're doing out there. If you don't, you're going to fail. But you got to have the tools to do it. You got to have the electrical components. You can tell when something starts to fail. I mean, my Lord, just hook up to it every once in a while, see what's going on, how many regions it's doing, why is it doing so many regions. Because that's going to bite you in the butt right there.
Yeah. Melissa, you worked at a dealership, right? I'm sure you saw a lot of stuff come in. What do you see from your customers that were coming in there? Are they actually doing their maintenance, or is a lot of this stuff due to a lack of maintenance?
Well, every now and then you get a customer who's great, right? They got a schedule, they care about it, they understand the concept of, hey, if you schedule time for us to do your maintenance, I understand this is a 16-hour service, but that's better than having your machine down for 4 weeks waiting for a hydraulic pump later, right? But there's plenty of customers, I can't tell you how many repairs I've done, because they don't grease their pins. They're just simple things, like they don't grease it. They don't change their oil. I mean, a lot of repairs come from my business. I mean, that's, dealerships obviously have a whole set of repairs. We have live data that comes through too, that we actually use for our field tests. That's what we're using it for, so they can kind of sort of pre-diagnose it before going out in the field, save more downtime, save trips.
So that's exactly it, right? If you can get data of vehicles and know what the problem is before you even get there, you can actually be more efficient at repairs, have the right tools, the right parts with you, and get that vehicle going up and quicker. And then it leads down the path towards predictive. Because all of a sudden now, if I'm grabbing all this data off, there's billion-dollar funded companies out there doing predictive diagnostics. And I used to think it was a futuristic, impossible thing until I saw it work. And being predictive on things, even like head gasket failures, and when your batteries are going to fail, it's truly groundbreaking stuff. But it all comes to getting data off vehicles, which leads into like another subject here, and that's right to repair. So as of right now, there is a movement in Congress. There's the Repair Act, repairact.com. You can go there. Please go there. Fill out the form. But for the first time ever, there's actually real momentum in Congress for a right to repair act that affects not only automotive but commercial vehicles, equipment, and everything else. And it's a really big deal. But it does impact things as it tries to go through and it tries to happen. But a big piece of that is having access to the data. So if the OEMs are locking data behind walls and not giving it to companies like Cojali, it's very hard for us to all get ahead of the problem. So Matt, I know you guys are equipment manufacturer. Traditionally, they've been kind of on the other side of the fence, right? And not saying Tadano is, but there's certain companies here, right? Where are you guys with it? Is it a conversation piece now that there is legislation in Congress and it's gaining momentum?
Well, so Tadano's company motto is "Go on's a me," which translates to safety first. So we are definitely sensitive to our distributors and customers' needs, and we will make every effort to assist when we can. But you're right, there's certain systems, certain aspects that, because of safety and the nature of our business, that we're going to try to continue to maintain some of that exclusivity.
And I guess another follow-up question too to right to repair and kind of lead down is the supply chain, right? We had shortages this last year. We had one engine manufacturer. They couldn't actually deliver emission components. They didn't get EPA approved deletes because the thing was protected, so aftermarket couldn't do it. So supply chain I think has been a problem forever. Is it loosening up finally? Are things getting back to normal? What are you seeing?
Yeah, so we've actually got a good supply of emissions components. We were struggling there for about 8 to 6 months last year. The manufacturer just couldn't keep up with the chips. As y'all probably already noticed, that $500 or $600 DEF header is now $3,000. We've had to deal with the negative feedback based on that. But ultimately everybody knows what the scoop is, but we're coming out of it.
Yeah. Melissa, how about you? Working in the dealership world, did it get pretty ugly there for a while? And where was it kind of going?
The specific construction company or dealership that I worked at, it was horrible for a while there. We couldn't get fuel filters, simple things like fuel filters. Everything had to be overnighted. You could not stock order anything from the manufacturer's warehouses because John Deere could not get people. Remember the big old walkout thing on the warehouses? Yeah. We couldn't get anybody in the warehouse to pull parts, so you had to machine down everything, which is expensive, which is overnight freight everything. You couldn't get things like fuel filters, air filters. At one point, we were buying things from the car just to get customers up and running because you get those simple things like fuel filters. And obviously, it makes the customers mad because they're losing money in downtime while we're also trying to get cars that we can't get. So it's a whole snowball effect.
All right, Nathan, I don't even know how supply chain works in a mine up in the middle of nowhere to begin with, but I think you guys just make everything on site. Is that kind of how it works for you guys?
We have to do a lot of that, a lot of fabrication stuff. And I'm not a fabricator, but I can make it work. I might look like shit, but by God, it's going to work. But no, it's still hard getting everything up there, especially in Alaska, rural areas, even in Idaho. Up there in rural areas, it's hard. And it takes 3 or 4 days in the lower 48. In Alaska, you're talking 2 weeks to 2 months. It's Alaska time. It's a different time zone anywhere in the world. I promise you that. But what do? You got to schedule ahead. If you don't, shit happens.
All right, so I know it's Stellar. You guys can't actually sell your thing unless you have a chassis to go with it. So I got to imagine
Right.
It's been an exciting 2 years for you guys over there. What's it looking like?
Yeah, it's pretty crazy. The truck situation in the United States is starting to ease a little bit. Just when it started to ease, then something else pops up. Ram recently, the Ram has really stepped up in a big way in Class 5 trucks. And then just recently, though, they had an issue, and they had to put a stop sale on trucks. And now we can't do anything on a Ram chassis probably till late April, maybe May or June. So it's really tough. That market and Ram, everybody was relying on them. But in October, their order bank opened for 2023. The story is anyway, they took 4 times the orders they could actually produce. Okay, 4 times the orders. So that was a pretty tough situation. I'm not sure the chassis situation we see today is really going to solve itself until probably 2025. And that's a lot of jumping through hoops. Probably about a 30% increase in chassis costs just in the last 2 years. So that's when we talk about all the supply chain stuff, is what it really means. Acquisition cost has gone through the roof on a lot of equipment, and trucks has been especially bad.
Yeah, I think it's hit pretty much everything, even down to diagnostic tools and cables, right? I know, Bruno, you were talking a little bit about just what kind of impact it had for you guys, and how did you guys get through that?
So first part of the year was when COVID hit was very strict. So until we ran out of stock, everything was good. But then components, as everyone was saying, times 20 in price and trying to get them. We even got a container load stolen in transit because that's how valuable it was. Luckily, our team was capable enough, and our process is very internally controlled, so we got it covered. But yeah, I know even some people had to go out and buy cables from different manufacturers because they couldn't get sufficient cables, and without cables, our tool doesn't even work. You can't even connect to the vehicles and get out there. Right?
Yeah, it was amazing how 10-cent items all of a sudden became a big problem for everybody in the world. So as we kind of wind down here, I got one last question here for everybody. We'll start at the end down there, and it's really when you look at the future, what do you think for you guys are the biggest challenges that are really impacting your business today?
Well, that's a good question. It's hard to look out into the future too far because there's so much, there's so many trees right in front of us. You know, with the supply chain thing, chassis stuff like that. I really think it's maybe political and government resistance to our industry as a whole. It just really seems like if you turn dirt, that all of a sudden we're not popular, and people don't understand that the people out there actually creating work in the world are some of the most important people in the world, because nothing starts until somebody turns a blade of grass over and creates that dirt, and it's really just shocking to me at the way that the political climate is now, where it's just that unpopular to do anything like that. Because even with EVs, we talk about EVs, you couldn't have one EV in the world if there wasn't a miner somewhere digging dirt and making the components for batteries or anything like that. So we need to change that a little bit, just understand what the working person actually does in the world.
Yeah. What about you, Nathan? What's the big one you run across all the time?
You know, in the off season, I'm an independent guy, so I run my truck and everything else. I've talked to a lot of the technicians out there. It's still the training. You've got to get the training out there. If you don't, you're not going to hold your people. They will go somewhere else because they want to grow. If you find a guy that just wants to hang out and do whatever, great. But most technicians always want to grow. They don't always want to just be a technician. They want to be the best technician. So if you don't give them the training they need, you're going to lose them.
Yeah. Bruno, what are you seeing from the aftermarket tool side?
I kind of agree with them, right? Training is key and education is key. So on our side, we see this every day, right? You just said it before. The problem with the $10,000 tool is not diagnosing, it's training on the computer, starting from there. So what we try to do is provide as much information to integrate it in that same platform so people can actually take advantage of that tool. It makes no sense to have something there lying around using 10% of it. So the more data we have to provide people to make educated decisions, reduce downtime, and be able to be up and running, that's our goal. Well, how we get there, different days, different decisions, right? But that's what we're going to.
Yeah, I mean, Melissa, you're a diesel tech. You got, a million followers on these platforms. You got your podcast show talking about diesel technicians and the shortage and everything we have going on. For you, what do you think it takes to try to fix that situation when it comes to diesel technicians and just not enough of them?
I mean, you've heard my spiel on high school situations probably 4,000 times now, but when I was going to high school in Laramie, Wyoming, you were required to have at least one semester of an automotive class and at least one semester of either welding or woodworking. That was a requirement to graduate. So a lot of, there's obviously some kids that thought that was stupid and didn't like it, but it introduced those industries to a lot of kids that didn't have the background in it. They would have never known that was something that they enjoy doing unless they were forced to do it. It sounds bad forcing kids to do that, but I've told you the story a million times about the little girls I had in my welding class that there's no way in hell they would have touched a welder in their life. But they were great at it and they enjoyed it. And that's the problem I see in the future, is not having enough diesel workers. Because all these tools are great and all. And the training is great, but if you don't have the people to use them,
Yeah.
it's not going to help anything. So I would love to see high schools get back into creating that, and the education of the industry. This isn't just a greasy, grimy, shitty job that people that don't go to college do, right? Like, yeah, you don't have to go to college to do this, but I'm making more than all of my classmates that did go to college. So just getting that out there and the awareness of it, I think, will help.
Yeah, educational system has a lot of problems, right? More student loan debt than anything. Most don't graduate. Like the list goes on and on. So it's been interesting watching you and the reach you have with people to tell them it is a good profession. And the fact is, diesel techs, 96% of the diesel technicians are males. I don't know any single industry that doesn't have an employment problem when it's predominantly one sex, give or take the other. So it definitely needs awareness. People need to learn it is a great career that you can do. All right, what do we got going on over at Tadano? Like, where's the big one for you guys?
Well, I'm not going to go specific to Tadano, but I'll close this out with an analogy I like to use sometimes. We need to change the perception of the profession. And I usually tell people, everybody's fairly often holds a doctor in high esteem. And I use the analogy that, when a doctor makes a mistake, typically that mistake gets buried. When a technician makes a mistake, that mistake's typically corrected at no charge. So, don't begrudge your technicians their due.
Well, I appreciate all of you guys coming up here to spend some time, sharing opinions, talking about things. More than welcome for people to ask questions afterwards. So thank you everybody for coming out for this panel. Thank you. Have a good rest of your show.
Thank you.